It's your boy, Sergeant Hook on Heroes. Hitting you with kind of a new video today, review recap. For Ultraman Z, for the English dub, it just concluded today as of recording this review. They just put out the English dubbed episode 25. And I gotta say, I might be becoming a huge Ultraman fan. I really think so. I really enjoyed it overall. And I'll kind of get into like the nitty gritty details. But first I want to talk about a couple of my qualms and kind of like worries going in. So when they announced they were doing the English dub, I thought that was a fantastic idea at first, especially because the pedigree of the cast. But part of me was like, ugh, because I always kind of cringe when there's something that's in a native language and they decide to have it all like dub of it in English. It usually comes off really ridiculous and awful. I mean, we saw the Ultraman Tico when they brought that over. Ultraman! You know, that whole fucking thing was just... ugh. And so, I was worried too. I was like, if this is crappy, this might be something that like pushes me and maybe even other people away from even wanting to watch other Ultraman-related shows. And I'm happy to say I was absolutely... just astoundingly, ridiculously wrong in every way. This is a fantastic show. This is, of course, my first time ever seeing it. I never watched it when it was on, weekly, with like normal Japanese audio and the subtitles. But I thought this was a cool way to do it as far as having the dub. And honestly, it was so great. I think that Tsuburaya is even farther into like basically first place in terms of how they're handling their content distribution. And especially because not long after this was announced, a few episodes in, all of a sudden they talked about Ultraman Blazar, which is the new Ultraman series, and we just got confirmation recently that's getting a simulcast English dub on the channel, on the Ultraman official channel. And the main character, like Blazar himself in the like human host form, is being voiced by Johnny Youngbosh, who we know is a fantastic voice actor. Clearly, he's legendary status as a ranger, but being Adam Park from Power Rangers. But is an awesome voice actor. Ichigo Kurosaki, Vash the Stampede, and a plethora of other characters. So that's really exciting. So I like the pipeline with that and how this was released episode by episode. Well, actually, there's 2 episodes, every weekend, leading up to now, where it was episode 25. And then I think either next weekend or the weekend after is when Blazar starts already, which is absolute insanity. But it was really good. I really enjoyed Zet. I think Zet was a really good choice to watch for my first Ultraman, because I didn't have to know anything going in. Like, I knew some of the things, kinda, like what an Ultra Rise is, and the basic gist that most seasons have a host, and then the Ultraman himself, and he's able to turn into the Ultraman, and blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, it was really refreshing, and it was interesting because it was only 25 episodes. I still felt like a lot of things happened. I don't feel like a whole lot was rushed. Now, I'm not saying the 25 episode count is perfect, and I'll get to that in a little bit here. But I think it really helped. I think we were able to really cut down on filler. I think there was a lot of episodes that gave a huge amount of good focus to not only Haruki as our main character, but also to Zet and just generally the lore behind who Zet was, knowing these past Ultras, them being his, masters and stuff like that. And I liked that. And I liked the anniversary aspect, which I know is an aspect of a lot of Ultra seasons, because it's just kind of how they do things. But I liked it in this one because it felt sort of Gokaiger-esque, where like he was utilizing some of the powers of the original like Ultras before him or whatever, but then combining them together to make something new, which I thought was kind of cool, and something I wish that we could have maybe even seen with Gokaiger, where they could have mixed and matched things a little bit more. Would have been kind of cool. But anyway, it's a really fun show. I think that Haruki really stands out as a really awesome main character, and I think it was really refreshing just watching something that wasn't Rider or Sentai, and that 25 episodes was more than enough for it to get its point across that it was trying to do. And interesting too, kind of seeing like when certain forms comes through, because he's about 3 or 4 main forms. He has his base form. He has Alpha Edge. He has Gamma Future. And then there's the Fire one, right? Like the Fire Strongman one. And then there's the Delta Rise Claw. And this voice cast knocks out of the park, with all the different forms. and all the different characters. They really directed this dub beautifully. I've never seen in my life anything be dubbed this well. And especially with it being the entire Japanese cast, but with English dubbed over their, voices dubbed over them, I was worried some of the English words just weren't going to fit the mouth movements and stuff. But they did. They did a lot of really good things. There's a gimmick with when Haruki, Ultra rises into Zet. And he says in the original show was saying for some reason Chesto, I think it was like some weird Ultraman grunt. Instead they changed it to Let's Go, and it just works really well. There's other things too, like I said, little translation things that just work really well and fit the characters, not only their mouth movements but also characteristically, like it fits them as a character that they would speak that way. I really enjoy. I think my favorite standout, honestly, was the Matt Shipman who voiced Zet. He did a really good job. I like that Zet very much so comes off as a very mild-mannered, kind of nerdy, geeky Ultra that is not trying to like ruffle feathers or offend anybody or whatever. As opposed to someone like Belial, who's just a fucking psychopath, right? But I really like him because he, wish I could have ice cube. He did a good job of selling that. Along with Haruki. Haruki's voice actor is like a newer up-and-coming voice actor. He's done a lot of different anime voices and stuff like that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's the voice of Tai in the Digimon Adventure 2020 dub that they did. And he's great. He's really awesome as Haruki, and it works really well. But overall, the show is just a lot of fun to watch. And it's really odd saying this because, like, Zet, has been a few years since it was even out or whatever. So it's interesting they even chose it. But I think they made a good choice choosing this season to be the one that they dub. I really enjoyed the Ultraman suits in this. The forms are really great. I really enjoy each one of the forms. I think that they don't, like, just rush through getting them really quickly. There's a decent amount of lead up to them, and it doesn't feel like it's just like new form, new form, new form, new form, new form, new form, which can feel that way sometimes, and stuff like even like in Geats sometimes can feel like it's just like form, right? Or just Rider in general or Sentai. But I really liked it, and it was really interesting getting used to it because I'm so used to, watching Rider and Sentai where there's a monster of the week and the team comes together or the Rider comes out and does his thing and whatever. And those little things were kind of turned on their head because it's really just Haruki and Zet that mainly take care of the monsters. Now, I say that, but then we also have Storage. There's this team that he's a part of, this military science group that have their own developed robots that they use to fight the kaiju. And they actually kind of come in handy a lot. There's actually quite a few times that the robots like Savenger and Wyndham and King Joe Storage Custom are the ones that deal the final blow on the monster instead of Zet sometimes. And I like that. I really do. I think there was a lot of really poignant episodes. I feel like the emotion came through really well, even though it was, doing the English dub. That really was not an obstacle. That was not something that held it back. There wasn't really a time that I watched an episode in this dub where I felt like it wasn't like quite hitting it right. And maybe I would feel different if I would have watched it initially in like Japanese with the English subtitles and all that. But I think as it is, I think they did it really well. They hit all the emotional cores that I thought they were going to, and really like just worked really hard to make this dub absolutely magical. I mean, it was my first introduction into Ultraman, and I don't know if I'm gonna be buying a bunch of the stuff and everything, but like I do have a higher amount of respect for people that are fans, and just for the team in general creating it. I think one of my favorite things in this is the attention to detail. As much as we get in Rider and Sentai with like the special effects and everything, special effects, what I like in this, there's a lot more practical effects things. There's a few different like sequences in this of fight scenes where you're pretty sure it's like, oh, that must be CG or special effects. No, it's practical. Like there's a lot of like miniature use, a lot of like bicycles that'll go thrown in the air and you hear their ding 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 ding, little bells of the bicycle bells, going off as they get thrown. There's a part where like I can't remember exactly what it was, but he's fighting one of the monsters, and there's it's this pretty infamous sequence, and he's like, that's what it is, he's stuck in the ground, because one of the monsters like teleports him or does some weird magic shit, and he's stuck in the ground, and you think that it's some kind of forced perspective CG trick. No, he's literally like that's literally a physical set around his neck, and it's actually doing everything you think it's doing. And I thought that was really cool. That's why I'm really excited, honestly, to see Shin Ultraman, to see if they utilize the same things of like original techniques that the original show used in the movie. But it's really great. I really enjoy the Ultraman designs. Like I said, the fights were great, the attacks, the forms. I think Haruki's interactions with the team are really funny and hilarious. There's a lot of really funny moments that I think came through and shined, even though it was through English dub and it wasn't just the subtitles. It did feel really fucking weird to not look down at the subtitles and see there was nothing there, because, I mean, I could put closed captioning on, but there wasn't. It's just the English dub. So it felt really weird, but it's a weird I want to get used to. It's a weird that I want to see keep going, even if it's just for Ultraman, I guess. I'd love to see them take this cast or another awesome cast and director, take a shot at a Sentai, take a shot at a Rider season. You know, I don't know if that day will ever come, but I'm hoping that it does. I really think this has the potential to kind of change the game a little bit and show that we don't always have to have a completely subtitled release, or you don't always have to have just like the Japanese audio with the subtitles. Like, you can put out something like this and it's just as great. I think Christian made a good point on his channel, talking briefly about this, where he said, you know, I kind of, when I watch these shows, I want to come home at the end of the day and turn my brain off and watch these awesome shows. And I hate sometimes, like, I gotta deal with it, but sometimes I hate having to be like reading the subtitles, looking up, reading something. Now, I've gotten to the point where I just, like, in my mind, I, like, am able to both look at them and see the action. It takes a lot of, like, fucking, like, force and training to do it. But I do understand this point. To be able to just kind of turn that part of your brain off and just hear them speaking English is awesome. Really like the kaiju designs in this. I think there's a lot of really good episodes. There's spoilers with this, of course. There's a really good episode where this monster they defeat ends up having like a partner, basically, and then you find out later it's protecting its eggs, like its babies, and they don't want to destroy it, and they're kind of pushed to do so anyway, I think. And it kind of leaves Haruki not even wanting to be Zet anymore, like not wanting to transform or help anymore, and kind of questioning like his resolve a little bit about like helping, and like, is it even worth it if there are, you know, sometimes innocents involved, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's cool because then they butt that up with another two-parter where this monster comes through and able to, it does like a wish-granting type of weird space-timey thing. It basically sends him back for a really amazing, really poignant, emotionally gripping scene where he meets his dad. And he's talking to his dad. His dad doesn't know who he is. And he mentions to him, he's like, you know, he's like, you seem troubled. The guy says to him, his dad says to him, and he goes, well, kind of. He's like, well, what's going on? He's like, well, I've kind of like lost my resolve a little bit. And I just wonder if doing what I do, protecting people in the job that I do, if it's worth it if people die. Isn't that my fault? Aren't I responsible? And like, you know, shouldn't I feel, you know, awful about it? And his dad straight up is like, you know, you can't let your failures hold you back. You can't let the time that you tried to save somebody and you failed stop you from ever doing it again. You have to take that loss, that life, those memories, hold it within you. Use it as fuel to push yourself forward. You're not always going to be able to do the right thing. You're not always going to be able to save everybody, but you still should do what you can to try. And I thought that was a really awesome scene. I think that was really, really poignant, and I was really impressed by that to come through in a show like this. Because I didn't know what to expect. I've never seen any full episode of Ultraman ever. I dinked around here and there with Rube at one point, with RB at one point, but not really, just to kind of see some of the forms and stuff like that. But to watch like the full episodes through, it was a lot of fun. And it's really, again, it's really interesting to see like there's like certain little elements that are similar-ish to how Rider and Sentai do things, but not really. Even down to like the gimmicks and stuff. Like, yeah, there's multiple forms and a final form, if you will, but in like one of the last episodes, he like loses access to it, and like we don't see that a whole lot, where like the main rider loses complete access to their final form near the end. Like, it happens, but you know what I mean, like not all the time. But yeah, I thought it was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I really loved the story that they told. I think the English cast did a great job. I loved pretty much all the characters. I mean, Juggler clearly stands out as a absolute 100% G, you know, absolute fucking awesome dude. Really love Haruki. I pretty much love the entire team. I do think, now I said my few qualms I had with it, is that the 25 episodes, while I do mostly love that, and I think like I was worried that it wasn't going to be enough time, it pretty much is. I do think if it was more like 30, 35, that maybe that would have cinched it more to like being able to tie up a few more loose ends and kind of like carry the story along not so quickly, because we do kind of jump from 0 to 100 near the end with like the final villain, mainly because we don't know a whole lot about what Celebro is and Destrudo near the end until it just becomes a thing. Not that I hated how things ended, but that's the one thing that's kind of a weakness is that it's the threat is always the week to week monster, and I was used to with like Rider and Sentai there being like the same, you know, solid threat every week that is sending out the creatures and doing the bad thing, right? And while that's somewhat there, kind of, the main final threat near the end does sort of feel a little out of left field. Not entirely, like we know it's coming and kind of what it's been like mentioning and talking about here and there, but I think with a few more episodes, we could have stretched that out a bit, and it would have made more sense, and it would have made the ending more well-earned. But overall, I really enjoyed that. I think the English dub is fantastic. If you guys have not seen it, please watch it. It is absolutely 1,000,000,000% free on the Ultraman official YouTube channel. Go watch it right now. All 25 episodes are free, completely English subbed, definitely check it out. Blazar is going to be up next. They're going to do that worldwide, you know, simulcast with that, with the English dub as well, with Johnny Youngbosch voicing Blazar himself. So definitely check that out. I really enjoyed it. It had a fantastic story set. The characters were amazing. The humor was on point. The action was great. The set pieces were great, especially seeing these giant fights. We're always used to like these ground battles. Now I say that, and I want to mention this. This is the first time I've ever known of that they flip that on their head. And there are a few times where Zet becomes like basically Haruki sized and fights on the ground. And it's really cool to see that. He doesn't do like a lot of the same Ultraman big things, you know, but still to see the suit shrunk down and being like human sized is really cool. That was something I wasn't expecting and kind of took me, you know, for a loop a little bit. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it was a fantastic series, and I would definitely recommend it. Props to the entire voice acting, you know, the entire, you know, crew that did the voice acting for this. They absolutely fucking knocked it out of the park. Entertaining as hell. And I would say I'm definitely an Ultraman fan. I don't know if I'm going to keep watching every single solitary season. I probably will watch at least Blazar because it'll have an English dub just like this did, and it being the new series that's airing completely new, that'll be cool to watch. But I really do enjoy it. So I think Zet is a great show to watch. If you've ever been sideways, even a little bit interested in Ultraman at all, definitely check it out. As far as a score, I'll say probably a strong 9 out of 10. I think like a few more episodes would have maybe cinched it and made it closer to like a perfect score for me. But as it is, it's a really solid show, and I definitely think you should check it out, especially as like a first series to watch, in my opinion. I don't know if all Ultraman fans feel that way, but definitely as a first season to watch, I think it's a pretty good idea. Excuse me. As far as content this week, this review and then the Geats 41 review. Once we get farther into July, the physical Blu-ray release of Shin Ultraman will be out, and once I've gotten it and seen it, I will do a review of that just like I did for Shin Godzilla. Yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of the Ultraman Zet dub. Did you watch it? Did you not? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you in the middle? Have you only watched the original Japanese English, Japanese language with English subtitles release? Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to get the conversation going. I love seeing the comments here and there in my videos talking about what we're discussing in the videos and kind of, letting me know you guys' ideas and how you feel about the shows. Vaughn, I did it. I watched an Ultraman season and I loved it. I really did. So shoutouts to Vaughn on Toku Twitter. He definitely was like almost the main reason why I even took a second glance at something like this and wanted to watch it because of how passionate he is about Ultraman. But definitely let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you so much for the love and the support. Subscribing to me is so great. Thank you so much for doing that and going out of your way for that. I really appreciate it. Watching the videos, liking, sharing, all that really good stuff. But as always, stay hooked on heroes. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye. Shoot watch!